was it worth it in retrospect? Like, absolutely not. It wasn't worth it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Life Choices Podcast.
Yeah!
How do we recreate a healthier relationship with food? Because the last time you were on, you had mentioned that you had gone to a farm.
I did go to a ranch.
A ranch, right. Mm-hmm. And you got some knowledge there. And then since then, you also went back again, or you went and did something?
So since then, I went on a week-long healthy retreat.
Okay.
And there I learned a lot, as you can imagine, with a whole week of just learning from doctors and different people and different practices. But it was more about living a whole food plant-based diet. So it's interesting to reflect back. Like, I had gone to that ranch and learned about the A2 milk and about, getting things back to its purest form. And then it went a step further in really looking at like living a whole food plant-based lifestyle, and how I personally no longer needed a lot of the things that I was supplementing with, or, that I thought that I needed to take if I was just eating the best quality, like whole food that I could. And so through that process, I was able to, for the week that I was there, it was easy because they fed us. I was able to eliminate all caffeine, processed foods, refined sugars, added oils, and very, very minimal salt. So it was a lot of, the first couple days, I definitely felt a detox of the sugar and the caffeine leaving my body. It was pretty rough. A lot of headaches.
So the first one that you went to, the ranch, you learned the whole products, or like the getting back to the whole nature aspect of it, using what is actually there for us, such as the animals and what comes from the animals. And now this is all a whole food plant-based way of eating.
Yep.
So no animal products.
Correct.
So you've been doing that now?
I have been.
For how long?
Since early October.
Well, this might not go up for months, but whatever. So for a few months, October, November, December, January, February. So almost half a year already from the time we're recording that you've been on a plant-based diet. Mm-hmm. Okay. So a couple questions for you then, because it's funny enough, September, October, I decided to make a big switch because I was working and everything that I eat is brought to me via me just ordering it. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have to spend any of my own money, which is a huge help when eating in this this lifestyle of plant-based, because plant-based is a bit more expensive when you're doing it on your own, correct?
I don't know if it's more expensive because meat and eggs and dairy are not cheap.
Correct.
Maybe it's a little more expensive. I know that, to stock up my full kitchen after purging everything that did not belong there anymore, it was like a $400 grocery trip.
Okay.
But that's not what I spend every single time I go to the store. And I do a lot of like bulk meal prepping. And a lot of it is like beans and rice. And you do a lot of vegetables and things like that, which you do have to be really strategic about utilizing them before they go bad.
So you're using a lot of legumes as well.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my question, because I decided, because of like, I know I have some gut issues, and that's why I'm kind of trying to figure out where I can do better with my food intake and still make sure I know how to get my proteins, which is another aspect of what people have to learn if they're going to choose to live this lifestyle. You have to know where to get your protein and how much of it you need to eat in order to get the certain amount of grams that you want. I wanted to stop all processed foods, which was very easy because I was middle of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was no fast food joints at all. And the food I brought in was all being made by scratch from my hands. So everything I ate, I could do that. The sugar, I wanted to get rid of all things. I didn't want to eat anything that had added sugar to it. Mm-hmm. But because I do have to do all the cooking and the baking, I obviously have the regular everyday white sugar. I started to feel way better because of what was going into my body was actual whole products rather than packaged, chemically, fucked with, basically. Mm-hmm. what is a good sugar? What is a good, like when you're baking or you're eating something that has an ingredient that would be something like,
So I make desserts. I make
yes,
like a chocolate avocado pudding and it's sweetened with date paste. So I buy the pitted dates and I soak them in hot water and I throw them in a blender and I make a date paste. And that's what I use to sweeten things like that. Maple syrup is also on the okay list. It's just you want to use it, in small amounts. So I'll put
pure Canadian maple syrup?
exactly just the
Yay.
Canadian because it's very minimally processed, right? It's not refined. It comes out of a tree. It's heated.
Most people don't believe me when I say that. Like, no, in grade school, we'd go on, everyone in grade school back in the 80s and 90s, whenever I was young, and you would go to a maple tree farm,
Yeah.
and there would be spigots
Buckets. Yeah.
in the tree, and
With
you
a
would,
bucket hanging
yeah,
from
and
it.
you would pull a lever, and it would come out and be like, no, it didn't. I was like, I don't know what to say to you. Like, that's literally what it did. And then we'd go inside to the meal house, to the mess house, and we'd have pancakes and syrup. That was like
Right.
the field trip.
Right.
So maple syrup's a good one, but in moderation.
Hmm.
And then the date paste is whether it's pitted or not pitted. Does that matter?
You have to pit it to blend it. So
Right. But I'm saying if you bought the pitted ones, the ones without pits, that's fine.
I buy the ones without pits.
Right.
It's just less work.
Less work. Okay. Because sometimes people are like, oh, why can't you just buy? But you can buy it without the pit, a little more expensive because you're paying for that
Right.
process being done.
Right.
You just soak them in hot water for how long?
10 minutes if it's really hot water. If
Okay.
you don't want to soak them in hot water and you just want to have them in your fridge, you can do it overnight.
Okay, interesting. Okay, overnight soaked, and then you just put it in your Ninja, your Bullet, whatever blending machine you have,
Vitamix Girl.
RoboQ,
Yeah.
Vitamix. Okay, and then just blend it, and that paste you can now wrap up and leave in your fridge for a certain amount of time, and you can just take bits of it out as to. But you're gonna have to research the recipes that state how much paste to put in instead of a cup of sugar.
I did have to research it first, but
Okay.
now that I know what I'm doing, I just do it to taste.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's a lot of recipes if you look them up on just no refined sugar, like blah, 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 fill in the blank.
Right.
You'll find stuff. And then
Okay.
you kind of want to just sweeten it to taste.
And
Like my children like things a little sweeter than I do. So
Right.
sometimes I'll make, a sweeter version or something.
it's so funny. I'll give you a piece of what's in my fridge right now, which is a date bottom.
Mm-hmm.
There's chocolate, dark chocolate melted on top, and then I put some salt, some coconut flakes. It's like a big thing on TikTok right now, and some peanut butter.
There's so many cool
Yeah.
recipes on Instagram and TikTok that I save off. And then sometimes I'll have to change them a little bit because I don't do dairy either. And so the chocolate sometimes is hard to come by. You can find,
Okay. So you don't do dairy. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And it's just a choice. Like I could, and
Mhm.
sometimes I'll take, obviously for my job, I have to try different proteins and colostrum and things like that. So I'll sample things here and there, but
Just not in your
I
everyday
just
diet.
notice a huge difference in the way my body feels and reacts to foods now that it's in a more of a pure state.
Okay. So not just the way you physically feel inside or how something when you eat it, like for example, not that I do it often, but if I eat bread because it's not, because it's chemically fucked with, I notice instantly a reaction in my body.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's that. And then what about like the outer body? Like, do you notice anything about like your skin?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I left that retreat, I don't want to say that it's been perfect, but I have been sticking to the diet plan pretty great, I think. I just feel like I sleep a lot better. I just feel really balanced. The less caffeine has been huge for me. Just everything is better. It's not even just my skin or it's my emotional health, my energy levels,
Everything top
my
to
ability
bottom.
to pay attention to things for
Really?
longer. And I'm just calmer. I don't get anxiety or like as much stress as I used to.
And you put that on the food intake more so than just like the practices that you now live with every day.
I do, yeah. I really do because it's the main thing that changed. I mean, I was already doing like hot works and meditation and yoga pretty regularly. And, I was doing that, into the end of my alcoholism as well. So that's been pretty consistent. But changing the food that I put into my body and the amount of caffeine intake and sugar, I did not realize the way that it was affecting me until I took it away.
the scientists that are very much in the forefront of the social media that I follow talk about how the mental state is a direct correlation to the gut health, which is a big thing that everyone's jumping on right now, which is
Microbiome.
amazing,
Yeah.
which is exactly why I showed you earlier. Like, I'm taking the leaky gut supplements, because everything that's described in these conversations that I watch is literally telling me, like, that's what I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling. That's what my body reacts a certain way. So I was like, all right, well, let's figure out what can I take to fix these issues. And so I'm keen about it because I do eat meat. I eat meat, I eat chicken, I eat fish, I eat all the normal like animal proteins.
Mhm.
I've gone vegan for like a month in my past, like nothing really sustainable, but I'm always interested in getting the more knowledge about it, because for me, I want to feel better the whole day that I'm awake. I
Mhm.
want to be able to sleep better at night. The food intake, so the sugar options are the date paste and the maple syrup.
Yep. Those are the two that I use.
And then, do you eat bread?
I sometimes will
Okay.
have some bread, but it's got to be the Ezekiel sprouted.
The frozen. It's in the
Mhm.
frozen section.
It's sold
right?
frozen.
I
Yeah.
do know that. Is that the brand Ezekiel?
I'm not sure.
Because
Food
I've
for
no.
life. Food for
Okay,
life.
there you go. Because
Like, I
I
need to
do,
know
yeah,
this.
yeah. I do know that I've bought that before on certain boats I've worked on, because I always
Mhm.
want to I always try to eat healthier because I want to fix whatever's going on inside of my stomach. My mental health is way better now than it ever has been, but I attest that to the way in which I live my daily life, like the practices that I do that I talk about all the time, and like the information that I'm reading, and the new practices that I come across from people that like sit in that chair to help me navigate through anything that's going on in the day. And the food knowledge that you have is kind of like really interesting, and then the fact that you actually implement it every time you kind of like come across some information that you really do kind of feel like that might be the
Mhm.
life changing lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean the whole point for me is that I want to live the best quality of life that I can. And one of my fears is that I will ever be like a burden to someone that I love, like my children. And I don't want to, if I can do anything in my life to support being strong and resilient and healthy for as long as that am alive, as long as I am alive, um, that's kind of my goal. It's my life goal. Like, I don't ever want to stop exercising and doing these things. And there's this myth that as you get old, your body deteriorates and you become less agile and all this. And it's almost like, did the chicken or the egg come first with that? Like, is it so believed that we slow down so much and we can't do these things? Because you do see, if you really look it up, there's people that are like 80 and 90 that are bodybuilders or yoga masters or like still doing things. So they just didn't give up. They just didn't slow down. I mean, yes, there's people that get injured and you do, there's things that cause us to have to slow down. But if I can do anything now to prevent that type of deterioration from happening, I'm gonna do it.
It's literally right along the lines of create the reality that you want, so that you live the life now that you want later.
Mhm.
You're basically doing that with your idealisms with regards to food and exercises. You want to see 90, you want to see 100. You don't, well, if I don't know, I'm just making a number, maybe you don't, but what you don't want is you don't want to be a burden to your children to have to come and help you get up and walk and do all those things. So your belief system is that if I eat this lifestyle that obviously makes me feel better physically and mentally, then I will be this person when I'm that person still.
Yes, but I also know that I could die tomorrow. I could
100%.
die when I leave this room. I could get in a car accident on the way home and it could be over. So I also want to just keep that balance of, uh, do I feel good today? Like, I want to put the things in my body that help me to feel nourished and not insane like I felt when I was caffeinated and had all the sugar running through me. Um, I just feel like more at peace and more balanced on my day-to-day life. And so I don't feel that I'm sacrificing something for my future because I know that, each day is not guaranteed. So I'm
You're living more
actually,
present. You're living more in the present, and you're doing all of this so that your day is healthy.
yeah. And I really, there's just, it's amazing how good the food is once and how my taste buds have changed and how I don't really I mean there's moments where I miss something or
Miss it or crave it.
I think what happens is I smell it
Okay.
out in public. I'll
Right.
drive past something and I'll smell fried chicken and
Mm.
I'm like, what is that doing to me? But I'm able to utilize a lot of tools that I learned in where instead of reacting I pause and I think about what I actually need because like there was a time that I went to go grocery shopping, right? And I had eaten right before I went because you don't want to go to a grocery store hungry. And I was there and like as I'm thinking about what I need to get and walking around, like the smell of something cooking, something fried got to me. And I was like, all of a sudden my stomach, like I imagined that it was growling and I thought I was like so hungry. And I was like, what am I gonna do? I can't eat anything here. I need to get home. And then I stopped and paused and I was like, I ate not that long ago before I left the house. I'm not hungry. And the smell of this food is stimulating all of this in my body, and it's false. And I was able to move away from that thought altogether.
And
And as soon as I left, I
You're
knew that I
fine.
wasn't, yeah.
Where did you learn that practice?
I learned it at the healthy retreat, but it's not the first time. It's kind of something that's just a reoccurring through any type of wellness book or lecture that I've listened to. But that was the last time that it was really pounded into me, where not pounded into me, but it really took hold of my.
It resonated
It,
with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and it's something that I can easily put into practice now more so than I used to be able to. But once again, I think that my ability to pause and think about what I actually need. Am I hungry? Am I tired? Do I need to just sit in a quiet place? Like, is there something that's bothering me? Um, and really look within and identify what I'm really going through. I wouldn't have been able to do that as well had I not changed what I was putting in my body.
You basically are describing the ability, what you had was the ability to be presently aware of what was going on. Like your awareness of what was happening to you instead of most of us who kind of aren't completely aware of our thoughts. They don't, like, most people wouldn't know how to just stop in the second and take that moment and be like, hold on a second. This is a thought that's coming into me that's making me react this way and this way. But actually I don't like the process that you were able to kind of like slow down and really focus on what was happening in that minuscule second to switch it to like, no, I'm good.
Mhm.
This is not going to like, I'm not going to like go over to the counter now because I'm craving this because I smelt it. My body's telling me I'm hungry because you had that ability to react to your awareness of the situation.
Yeah. And it's a challenge because
Yes.
there's a lot of energy and money and time put into making all of these convenient foods and things around us that are not really good for our bodies, super attractive and highly addictive. And so it is hard to, it's not easy to get out of it. And I was very blessed to be able to go to this retreat and have it kind of reset for me because having to do that at home, I just don't know if I would have been able to do it without being separated from
I think you
all the
would have been able to
temptation.
do it. Eventually, it would have taken you a lot longer
Mhm.
because you weren't in the environment that was giving you all the information at once on how to overcome the great marketing that the big companies do,
Mhm.
which have brought many generations to their knees with regards to their health. We've talked about it before. Daryl, who was on literally just an hour ago, sat in that chair. We talked about this. Like, a couple episodes ago that he was on about how like in a grocery store, everything you need is actually on the outside walls and everything in the center is actually not good for you. But if you
Right.
go to the center, you're going to be overwhelmed by all the colors and all the attractiveness of what's going on there. And those are the items that absolutely are addictive. And it's hard to get out of that when you make the conscious decision, like I did in September, October, that I finally said to myself, listen, too many times you give the excuse of convenience to go across the street to get McDonald's. Blame it on the fact that I waited until everyone else on the compound was ready for dinner, and then it's late, and I'm hangry and I want to go eat, but I don't want to cook. I'm going to walk across the street and grab my Mickey D's, and that'll be it. But I was like, no, that's a bullshit excuse. You have to live your life for you. You have to put yourself in a routine that is good for you. And for me, that means eating dinner no later usually than 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to eat with my friends and they're not ready for 7 p.m., tough shit, I'm going to eat my dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I even go as far as like, I'll make dinner for my roommate. And if he's not home yet, or if he's going to show up a little bit later, he can have dinner when he's ready. I'm eating my dinner. I'm ready now. And then make that decision to make the food from scratch. Go to the store, buy the foods that are what I consider to be the best option, and create a meal from scratch where I know what goes in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I do eat meat still. I eat animal protein still. So I'll get the chicken, the fish, the beef, whatever it is. And then I'll make whatever. Like I made shepherd's pie the other night, or sorry, cottage pie, because that's with beef, not lamb.
Mm-hmm.
And so I basically got vegetables, ground beef, and potatoes. Boiled the potatoes, mashed them up. I did add butter to them. Ground beef, I just pan fried and added a little bit of seasonings. And then I made beef stock into a sauce, like thickened it and everything with products that I knew. And then sauteed up the vegetables and made that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I had that same dish from a restaurant, it probably would have other things added into it because it's not always necessarily from scratch, homemade.
Mm-hmm.
So making that decision, and then the tougher part, like you're saying, is the information you need. Like for me, I'd love to eat in the fashion that you're doing. It's an excuse. I fully admit it. But now I have to do more research to find out what ingredients I should have in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I have to research all new recipes. I got to slowly take the time to cook everything and meal prep so that I have it on the days that I'm just not wanting to cook. And that's the tough part, I think.
It is tough. I think the trick for me was I did have like a cheat sheet, like shop, have these things in your house, which I would be happy to share if I still have it around. But you just want to make sure you have plenty of like the grains and the beans and then the veggies. And there's some seasonings that are better than others. Like Bragg's liquid aminos is a good like alternative to sodium. And then I also try to make sure that I always have like avocados, apples, pears, kiwis, bananas, like something to snack on. And then nuts, like cashew nuts.
Is it the
Interesting.
better one of all of them?
It's the one that I use to make sour cream. And I make a cashew cream that I put on top of like oatmeal and the avocado pudding. It's I use it for a lot of my dairy alternatives.
Okay, interesting. I like what you said about it's not about sacrificing like things. It's about choosing to live every day so that this whole thing can feel good, which is super important.
Right. And the meals that I make are so good that I feel like I'm just at a different level of eating to where like I try to think sometimes, okay, if I want to have like a cheat day, which I wouldn't even call it that, but if I want to, go off the rails and then get back on track, what would it be? And I really can't think of anything that I'm missing that I would really want. Like, let's say it was ice cream and I went and had ice cream, like the amount of discomfort that I would feel from that would not be worth it. And now I know, like was it worth it in retrospect? Like absolutely not. It wasn't worth it.
See, I realize, especially now talking to you about this topic, is because I'm reprogramming my brain, or I've been reprogramming my brain over the past couple of years in order to get myself to where I'm at right now, which is, thank God, so much happier than where I once was. I realized the effort and the reprogramming that I would have to do in order to get the foods that should be in my body. And then I think like if I never could have that again, I'd be like, oh, I would miss that. But would I? if all of this is just feeling so much better?
Right. And it's not like you can't ever have it again
Right.
because you're making your own rules.
Yes.
Right. It's
It's my
not,
life, my universe.
yeah.
100%.
So like I could go eat fried chicken tomorrow, right? Because it just smells so, why does it smell so good?
It does. Yeah, that and Chinese food.
But
me.
will I really, will the positive flavor in my mouth for 5 seconds or however long it takes me to chew it, 30 seconds, be worth the way that my body feels? And will it be giving me any type of like positive outcome? And it's
Not
just
as much as one
easy
would
for me
think.
to
Yeah.
find an alternative.
Yeah.
I love Thai food, and so I like am obsessed with red curry, and usually it's served with like white rice, and however, I don't know how much sodium or like added oils are in a restaurant. I'm guessing it's still pretty healthy depending on where you go, but I figure out how to make it at home, and so I get the red curry paste, which has all great ingredients, and then I use
Which red curry paste?
uh
Is it the one in the jar?
yeah,
So
it's
it's not the red container, the
it's a tiny
goji
little
jon?
jar.
Okay.
And it's just got like lemongrass and all of the, I don't know about this one that you're talking about.
Don't know if I have any in my fridge, but I'll put it up on my phone later to show you, because it's like it's like a really good, if you don't want to make your curry paste from scratch, which I get, it's a process. There's the two that I've used for boats, basically, which is the little bottle. It's a glass bottle, black lid.
Yeah.
That I think it's like red and black label. It says Thai on it.
Yeah, that's the one.
And then there's I believe it's goji jon red curry paste. And it's a big tub, and this is like, you just need a couple of spoonfuls of this into your coconut
I'll
milk.
have to find that.
It's good. And then again, the more you add, the spicier it's going to be. I think it's way better. The flavor it adds is way better than that little jar. But you'd have to look at the ingredients to see if it's actually better for you.
It probably is fine. The only thing that would be added is like if it's got soybean oil in it, or if it's got, extra sodium, then I would have to be really careful about that. I tried really hard not to do any added oils, but sometimes I'm like, okay, it's a trivial amount, so I'll do it.
I mean, with curry, you could just add coconut oil.
Yeah, but I'm not even doing coconut oil.
Okay, no oils at all?
Like I'm not. I do for the kids, like I make them waffles, and so I'll do coconut oil. But
so what is your substitute for that? Because you use nut oil?
I don't use any oils
At all?
No, I do dry sautéing.
Okay.
Which is a technique that I learned there.
So let's sum up this relationship with food. So basically, depending on what avenue someone wants to go down, there's obviously a lot of different courses and retreats that you can now go to, which obviously you go on Google, type in food retreat for whatever genre of eating you want, whether it's whole, what would you call the first one? Whole
food, plant-based.
That's what you're doing now, whole food, plant-based. And the other one where you went to the ranch?
That was really just like a supplier visit I did through work. And they were just maybe off the land or pre-GMO.
Right. No additives to the animal products that are coming from.
No modifications.
Right, which is awesome. And so by doing one of these lifestyle food changes, how long would you suggest somebody, if they're thinking about doing it, how long would someone have to do this to kind of get a feel for noticing the differences?
It really depends on where you're at on your health journey and where you're at before you start, because I wouldn't want to tell someone to do anything without them knowing themselves. Like truly, you have to know where you're at. So if you are on a medication and you're trying to do something and you're altering it, just know that you need to be doing that with your doctor throughout. Right. But yeah, the impacts are pretty strong, I would say, within a week, 2 weeks.
Within a week. But case by case, person by person situation, know your body, consult with a physician if you are on medication that maybe you're trying to get off of. And that's an excellent point to bring up, is that I'm sure there's a lot of studies and a lot of people are being directed from their physicians that, hey, maybe you should try this. It might be a better idea than being on all this medicine.
I will also just say that it's important to remember, and I remind myself of this often, especially if I'm traveling or something, that if I'm stressing myself out so much about like, how do I find the food that I really need, but I'm so hungry, like it's okay to deviate off, and it's okay to just, it's healthier to just find something and make it work rather than stressing so much about trying to find something that's so strict on this, specific like regimen. So you have to find a balance that works for like you and your family and whatever that dynamic looks like. And, I,
There's always going to be a lot of research, a lot of trial and error to get you to
Mhm.
where you want to be, but always make sure that you take it as it is your life, your day. Where's the balance?
right.
Where can
And
I be
everybody's a
happiest?
little bit different.
1,000%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that information. We're going to have you back in the very near future, next week or so, talk about some other topics. But that was super amazing. I already know that I'm now going to have to dive into some more research and pick your brain a little bit off screen about the new whole plant-based lifestyle. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much. For everyone out there, thank you very much for coming back each and every week. We'll see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. here on the Life Choices Podcast. Much love,
The
everybody.
journey. That is the Life Choices Podcast.
Yeah!